Picard's rescue doesn't make any sense.
Picard implicitly.
Hello everyone, welcome to a quick episode of Trek Canon. So this particular video was sent to me and they asked that I would address it. And I love addressing stuff. Like this particular creator was talking about Wolf 359. And more specifically, he had questions surrounding the rescue of Locutus or Captain Picard from the Borg vessel. And he had some things that he felt was inconsistencies, right? And since I'm a person who loves talking about inconsistencies, let's see if we could kind of, adjust some fire here because, I'm on a mission from God. So I'm kind of busy right now. So, okay, but check it out. So I'm trying to do this real quick. So his first question was basically, how did Data and Worf, while they was on the Borg cube and the Borg cube had the shields up, beam off of the Borg cube? Very simple. All right. If you remember how the shields work in Star Trek, right? The shields surround the vessel in like a bubble. All right. It's not like the TOS era where the hull is, electrified or the shield runs on top of the plating or the whole plating itself. Okay, so in future, next generation, everything like that, there's a bubble that actually encompasses vessels in Star Trek. Now, specifically for the Borg, you have this static shielding. All right, you can beam off of the Borg cube into your shuttlecraft, which was also inside the Borg static shield. All right, so transporting back and forth inside the Borg static shield, totally fine. You notice that they needed to leave the static shield when they had Locutus in the shuttlecraft. They needed to leave the area of the static shield for the Enterprise, which was outside the shield, to make the transporter beam go all the way through. Now, the second thing was, why did the Borg cube leave the primary and secondary hull intact instead of destroying them while they was on their way to Sector 001? All right, here's the thing. It's the same reason why you can beam over to a Borg cube, and as long as you're not doing nothing to mess with their mission, they're not going to bother you. Not going to see you as a threat. But once you start getting in their way, interfering with things, then you're going to have problems, all right? If you notice in that episode, the secondary hull did that antimatter spread, which wasn't going to do any damage. It was only designed to attract attention, right, away from the shuttlecraft that was trying to penetrate the static shielding, right? Now, here's the thing. Picard knew that the secondary hull, the primary hull was the thing that was going to be the bad thing. That's why he focused on it and left the saucer section alone. But once Locutus was out of the shield, they stopped firing. When I say they, the Enterprise primary, secondary hull stopped firing. They ceased to be an impediment to the Borg. Now, the Borg was like, oh, okay, well, we could get back on our primary mission. That being said, if the Borg was traveling through the sector 359 with 359, right, and all of those starships didn't do anything, didn't block the path, they just sat there and watched the Borg go through, Borg would have never interacted with none of those vessels. But those vessels tried to engage the Borg. That's literally what they did, right? And it pissed off the Borg. Borg don't like none of that. All right, so that's why the Borg cube let them, go on about their business. Now, as far as the Borg, why didn't the Borg destroy the vessel once they knew Locutus was on board? They say in that episode, I believe by Dr. Crusher, says that the Borg can no longer separate entity that's attached to the collective than we can separate our arm or a leg. All right, now that was retconned later in canon, but since we're talking about this episode at that particular moment, that was what was canon, and there you go. That's why they didn't just automatically disconnect them. And just because Locutus was off the ship does not mean that the Borg did not have continuous access to Picard. That's exactly why their plan worked, where Data was able to input the sleep command into Locutus. Now, so let me see if I covered everything. Let me see. Okay, plot. Okay, big blows up. Okay, yep, right. Don't need him. Yeah, okay. The Borg don't need Locutus. Just like I said, the Borg needs everybody who is part of their collective, unless that part of the collective is doing something or has some type of issue that would mess up the collective as a whole, and then they're disconnected. But see, here's the thing: the question you should be asking when you was thinking about the rescue of Captain Picard from, Locutus and everything from the Borg, because these are the inconsistencies that you should have been asking in that video, and that is this. First, there shouldn't be a Captain Picard, because if Captain Picard was truly disconnected from the Borg collective after that cube blew up, then it is stated in canon during that time that any Borg that becomes disconnected from the collective disintegrates. It self-destructs. It goes away. You get disconnected from the collective, you disintegrate. There was retcon later, but again, not in this episode. By this episode, that was canon. All right. And the second thing is this: just because that Borg ship blew up, should have never disconnected Picard from the collective, because the Borg collective, that subspace link, travels through subspace, which is exactly why the Borg from that was found on Earth in Star Trek Enterprise still was trying to do everything they could to be part of the collective, because they wasn't never separated from the collective. They was just inactive. Once they reactivated, they transceiver reactivated, and they became part of the collective again. So if that ship blew up, Picard should have just transferred his collective side over to through subspace to the actual collective hive mind. So it should never have been a break. Like it shouldn't have been. It shouldn't have been a thing. So those are the questions that you should ask. Why Picard? Why, because that one Borg ship blew up, Picard all of a sudden is not connected to the collective no more. And once he got disconnected, why didn't he self-destruct? Like, really, man, that's just really. Anyway, man, I truly enjoyed the video though, man. Anyway, you be cool.